Ana is a highly dedicated and skilled professional with over 22 years of experience working in various roles within the aged care and disability sectors. Ana's life experience, both personally and professionally, has granted her unique insight into the challenges and opportunities of adjusting to a new culture and country. Ana is a true advocate for her consumers and wholeheartedly believes that every consumer has the right to safe, quality care and to live without abuse or neglect. So Ana is the care service manager at Multilink Community Services.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Sas. I am the aged care services manager of Multilink Community Services based in Logan, area of Brisbane, Queensland. Multilink provides a comprehensive range of services designed to support individuals across various stages of life and diverse needs. We offer assistance through multiple funded programs spanning from youth and family services to aged care and disability support. This holistic approach ensures that we address the unique requirements of each demographic, fostering well-being and empowerment throughout their lifespan. But today, I am here to discuss with you what makes a culturally inclusive home care services. Multilink delivers a range of aged care services. We are funded for the Commonwealth Home Support Program, home care packages level 1 to 4, and the Aged Care Volunteer Visitor Scheme program. The cohort of consumers that we provide aged care services to are 24% Anglo-Australian background, 6% El Salvador, 4% each from Croatia, England, Samoa, Germany, and Hungary, 3% each from Poland, Uruguay, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Serbia, 2% each from Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, Slovenia, Indonesia, Norway, Slovakia, and Romania, and 1% each from Colombia, Iran, Russia, Fiji, New Zealand, Denmark, Bulgaria, Malta, Macedonia, Ireland, South Africa, Wales, Thailand, and the USA. Collecting consumers' cultural background data helps Multilink make informed decisions about staffing and language-appropriate activities and translated information. We have analyzed our consumer data and submitted a request for the translation of the consumer care plan templates and all the other flyers into top 5 languages. Our goal is to ensure that resources are available in languages that our consumers can easily understand. When consumers receive information in their preferred language, it fosters trust and satisfaction with the service, contributing to a positive experience. If you don't know how to access free interpreting and translating services, you can contact your local PCAC team, which is in every state and territory. Delivering culturally inclusive home care services for older people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds requires a thoughtful, multidimensional approach that emphasizes effective communication, cultural respect, and genuine engagement with care recipients and their families. From the outset of promoting our services through the community channels, community leaders, other programs at Multilink Community Services like employment and well-being services, social media, and during the recruitment of our staff, it is essential to prioritize candidates who speak the language of the communities we serve. This not only facilitates clear communication, but also builds trust and rapport, allowing aged care consumers who do not speak English to express their needs, preferences, and concerns with confidence. A good example of that is we are currently providing services to several Romanian-speaking consumers. We have 2 support workers that are applying for a planned leave. And what we've done, we reached out to the community for assistance in finding a qualified individual interested in joining our team. By the next day, I received a call from someone who recently completed their Certificate 3 individual support and expressed interest in the role. We successfully employed this individual, allowing us to maintain continuity in service delivery for our consumers. The same approach we have done with a Spanish-speaking worker, where we approach a staff member from one of the other departments, and they came back to us with about 8 resumes. We've interviewed every individual, and the successful ones have been employed by our organizations. The current and strengthened aged care standards recognize the importance of person-centered care and consumer engagement. The standards emphasize the need for care recipients to have a say in their care decisions and ensure that their rights are upheld throughout the care process. Compliance with the standards is essential for fostering a safe and respectful environment where care recipients feel valued and supported. By prioritizing consumer involvement and culturally sensitive practices, we not only meet regulatory requirements, but also significantly improve the overall quality of care, leading to better health outcomes and greater satisfaction amongst the aged care consumer. We have recently welcomed a level 4 consumer diagnosed with dementia who speaks the mother tongue. The consumer exhibited challenging behavior initially. However, after a few visits, the husband, who is the carer, was able to build a rapport with the support worker, which allowed him to feel comfortable leaving his wife and our support worker at home while he took respite from the caring role to spend time with their daughter. The support worker understanding of the language and culture facilitated a quick connection, resulting in a reduction of the consumer's challenging behavior, which aligns with the aged care standards and diversity framework. To ensure a consumer-centric perspective in care delivery, we recognize the importance of training our staff from the outset. New employees are paired with experienced team members in a buddy system, allowing them to learn directly from those already skilled in providing inclusive, person-centered care. This mentorship fosters a supportive environment and helps new staff understand how to engage with care recipients and their families. Ongoing training and development opportunities are also essential in enhancing our staff knowledge and skills. We provide comprehensive training in areas such as clinical care, trauma-informed care, dementia, advanced care planning, recognizing signs of deterioration, end-of-life directions, medication assistance, emergency disaster management, to name a few. This continuous education equips our staff to address the diverse needs of aged care consumers effectively. As staff members become more knowledgeable, they are better equipped to apply this learning in their daily interactions with consumers. They can facilitate meaningful conversation, respect cultural perspectives, and ensure that each care recipient's dignity and autonomy are upheld. Ultimately, this comprehensive training approach not only enhances the quality of care we provide, but also empowers our staff to be effective advocates for the needs and preferences of those in our communities. Cultural competence is key to effective care for CALD individuals. It goes beyond language proficiency to encompass a deeper understanding of diverse values, beliefs, and traditions. This might involve respecting cultural practices during care routines with the consumer or honoring significant rituals important to them and their families. Previous financial year, Multilink has delivered 10 cultural information sessions with most of our support staff in attendance. These sessions have provided our team with a deeper understanding of diverse cultures, enhancing their abilities to support our consumers more effectively. This knowledge not only improves communication, but also ensures that we deliver more personalized and culturally sensitive care. Every consumer receives an information package upon onboarding with Multilink, which includes materials from IH Care and also advanced care planning. We conduct annual LDEC training to ensure our support workers and care facilitators understand and can effectively explain end-of-life care and advanced care planning to our consumers and their families. These concepts can often be taboo or poorly understood in many communities. However, through the education we provide to our staff and our connections with Metro South Advanced Care Planning clinics, we create opportunities for consumers to initiate discussions and make informed decisions without the pressure of a crisis. We believe that by fostering an inclusive environment that acknowledges and celebrates cultural diversity, we ensure that our care is not only comprehensive, but also reflective of the unique identities and values of older adults from CALD backgrounds. This is reflected in the consumer care plan and all the other documentation that we complete with the consumer and their families at the intake or when we review their needs. This holistic approach not only enhances the quality of care, but also reinforces the dignity and respect that every individual deserves. Thank you.
Henrietta is the CEO of Umbrella. Henrietta has over 9 years of experience in the aged care sector. She has built a notable experience in fostering engagement and improving accessibility within culturally and linguistically diverse and LGBTQI+ communities. Her journey includes impactful work in both government and not-for-profit sectors, where she has been instrumental in enhancing service delivery and support for vulnerable populations. Thank you so much, Henrietta, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Magdalena and Nikki. Thank you as well. Jó napot kívánok mindenkinek, Henrietta vagyok, és nagyon szépen köszönöm, hogy itt lehetek ma önökkel. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Henrietta, and it is an honor to greet you on my mother tongue, Hungarian. So a little bit about Umbrella. If you don't know about us, we have been established in 2000 by a group of migrants. They believed that the services that were provided at the time were not suitable for the often more resource-intensive clients. So they came together and started social groups because they also believe that it's not gardening and cleaning that's going to keep our elders with us, but it's going to be the social connection and language connection. So they have built an organization for the last 24 years, and now we delivering home-based services, so Commonwealth home support, home care packages, HK volunteer visitors scheme. In fact, we have one of the biggest one in state. We have also one of the biggest care finder team as well. And we do a lot of outreach projects, including the Rainbow Migrants, where we have established a project to look at how LGBTIQ and CULT community members experiencing our systems. So we have around 1,000 clients, speak from 71 different countries and speak 61 different languages. So we're quite diverse, as well as we continuously advocate for a better system for all. Before we go, I just would like to go into a little bit of statistics because, again, I want to empower all of you when you're out there. And I can see that you posting about government funding. We need more funding. Please, this is for you because we do have to be on our toes. We all have to be a little bit of advocates for our clients at the moment, as well as for our organization. So this is for you. So when you advocate, say, actually, this is why we need more funding. Actually, this is why I need to train my staff. Actually, this is why we have that. So Australia is very, very diverse. We have 429 different languages spoken, 370 just in WA, 190 different countries represented in WA, for example, and we have 130 different religious faiths in WA, extremely diverse. And fortunately, Jeddah is not one of them. So my apologies, but it's still very, very diverse. And we have 16,000 Auslan speakers in Australia. Very diverse. What are we doing about this? Are we celebrating it? Are we loving it? No, not necessarily. We see it as a barrier. We see it as a problem. And this is unfortunately, a lot of the conversations are about looking at negatively at this diversity instead of looking at this as an opportunity and what we can do about it to make sure we include everybody. A little bit of democratic profile. So we just done our strategic plan, which is on our website. So please feel free to check it out. And what I wanted to do is not just us having a plan for everybody who wants to know what Umbrella is doing, but also give you a little bit of a tool for your own advocacy and going forward. Because again, we are all in this together. So in WA, we have quite a large number of seniors and we are aging very rapidly, especially when it comes to multicultural. What also the things that we have discovered, for example, and I saw a couple of people from Broome. So hi everyone from WA. What we're seeing is that multicultural seniors, 90% of 85 plus multicultural seniors end back up in Metro. That means they're not aging in place in the regions. So it's really important to look at that data. And when you're advocating for more funding, I would love to see our elders in Broome, for example, to stay locals, to stay with you, to make sure that you have the right resources there. Still, it's not necessarily happening. And why we need this. Again, when it comes to advocacy, it's really, really important. People, not necessarily in government, and I know I saw a couple of very lovely people from Department of Health and Aging. Hi, everyone. I love working with you. But sometimes I think the messages is not necessarily there. So what I want to say is that when it comes to multicultural elders, and this is a data from Aging in Multicultural WA from 2020, so it's not necessarily even updated with the 2021 census, but what it shows is that especially women, especially from multicultural background, have low level of education. So communication is going to be hard because they may not even literate in their own language. So translating a survey may not be working there, right? Low level of income. So they will need the subsidized funding. Then they have more disability, higher disability rates, and they will need more assistance. So they are the one who is least likely to able to access care on time, but we'll need the most of our attention. So this is where the tug and pull and feel of lack of resources and lack of support will come into your planning and your care planning when it comes to your workforce. So let's talk about workforce. And again, I just want to say you are not alone in this. And I'm so grateful for Center for Diversity in Aging for putting this one together. Because sometimes as being a CEO can be a lonely job and all of the workforce issue is not an easy one to talk to. But let's talk about our workforce. Yes, I've seen the comments, especially FinCare, and also being a Hungarian, I just want to give a big shout out to my Finnish cousins. It's a big one. We have the same problem. So Umbrella was funded by predominant Eastern European communities. So we're very heavy on Polish, as well as Macedonian, Serbian, and Croatian, as well as our biggest group at the moment are Italians. What is the trend there and why, for example, the Finnish, or we had a couple of other languages that I mentioned before by Anna, is that those languages are really, really hard to find staff these days. Why is that? Well, some of the things are actually inherited in the systems that we're currently in. And I just would like to quote Professor Loretta Baldassar from ECU. She pointed out that in 1999, the Howard government changed our immigration system, made it from families, so mostly family migration. And this is why you have such a big Italian families and Polish families and European families, to skills and short term. And that really hurt our multiculturalism in Australia. And now, 24 years later, we're reaping not the benefit, but the opposite, unfortunately, the problems of it, meaning we run out of some of the language speakers. Not completely normal. I can't ask, and let's be frank, we can't ask every Polish person in Perth to come and volunteer and work for us. We can't ask every Italian person to do the same thing. So the gradual decline on those languages in your workforce, unfortunately, is a side effect of many other things that happen internally as well as externally within our communities. And this is why it's so important to have different strategies based on what communities you're serving. And that includes the Mandarin and Cantonese as well. I'm speaking with Chungwa as well, had a little bit good discussions. They're also running out of language speakers. So it's a very interesting conversation of some of the older communities. And again, this is why it is important to highlight which communities came when and how, because their transition through the Australian history has an impact on how they ended up in the aged care system, as well as the new and emerging that are just rippling with that they're aging. And now they're actually looking at how they can enter aged care as well as the workforce. So we have to be a guardian as well as a support for those communities. When it comes to those European languages that mentioned in the chat, what we are looking at is actually looking at the second generation. In Australia, we are absolutely terrible at looking after a second generation. And it's not just the families. The families are really, really trying, but we have monolingual and monocultural education system. By the end, 80% of our multilingual children become monolingual. So we are churning out monolinguals in the second generation, and we're losing that connection. So when we're having a discussion and saying, well, we're running out of Polish stuff, we're running out of Italian stuff, what are we going to do? We're actually looking at tiering up what we can do for the clients. I think matching is still really important. So obviously language is the main one. So we are trying to use as many language speakers as we can. The second one is looking at that cultural connection. And that's when the second and third generation is going to play a very, very important role in your possible workforce, because they may not speak the language, because again, the monolingual systems are brutally eliminating our languages. But what it's going to give you is somebody who knows Nonna, somebody who knows Babcha, somebody who knows how the cleaning likes to be done, because they had that experience with the elders, with their parents, with their nonnas, babchas, yayas, nenes, and they will know that. And that's the cultural connection that we can also sell and promise to our clients that it will be there. Then we're going to talk a little bit about technology, because I saw that was in there too. So I have a couple of ideas there as well. And if first comes to us, it's going to be that multicultural caring that we bring. And just match somebody who's in the geographical location so they can attend the clients easier. And we had an interesting conversation with some of our English-speaking clients. They actually prefer bilingual staff because they feel like that the caring was more like, it was a bit different. It was a bit more in-depth. Because again, they're carrying the cultural value of looking after our elders. This is not necessarily just a job for us at times. It's literally who we are. It's our community. I care for you, so you're part of my community. Those are the stories that we need to keep telling to our staff, to our clients, to our marketing, because that's what makes us different, is that cultural connection and community connections that we constantly foster in everything we do. Some of the innovation, I'm going to go very quickly into that. So technology, 100% is, I'm not going to talk about training because that was talked about before. Technology. Today, I just used ChatGPT to talk to somebody in Mandarin. She nearly fell off the chair, how good the technology was. On top of all of that, we had all the conversation behind. So ChatGPT was able to give me all the conversation. We straight away can go into a care plan. So yes, technology, please explore. It's going to be a critical part. Not every language though. So I would like to warn you, Hungarian was absolutely horrendous. So it's probably not going to work for smaller languages like Finnish or Hungarian. But for others, it could be. And I already had a good conversation with Polish. Go and have a play, try it out. just make sure that you maintain confidentiality because ChatGPT is notorious with that. So I highly recommend, as well as look at a system, a CRM system that is actually have AI built into that. You will need that to happen. The other thing is building relationship. I cannot tell you how important that is. We also take on that board, get out, talk to the communities, make sure that you able to make sure that you are there for them. Leveraging multicultural workforce. Again, when it comes to linguistic capabilities, it's really important that you utilize them. You don't just see them as an exchange, but see them as an opportunity to bring more than just language. You bring culture, you bring that caring role. And again, what we're doing with the new and emerging communities, so we have now the Burmese, we have the Indian community. We're working with them through Soul Outreach Project first, and then we're building the capacity. So we're bringing celebrations to Umbrella. We're just celebrating Diwali on Friday. I'm going to go and dance. We have Chinese New Year. So it's an incredible diversity. And it also builds a bond between all these diverse workforce. So I absolutely love it when staff share their culture and language with us. And I learned how to say Happy Mother's Day in a few languages right now. Again, I give you some tools to not just be advocates for your own workforce and hopefully to make a difference for a longer term, especially in a very industry that is changing so rapidly, but we need to be on top of it because unfortunately, multicultural and LGBTI communities are lacking in recognition in the new bill, as well as in the new proposed changes for home care. I cannot tell you how heartbreaking it was reading the 10% case management fee, then looking at that some communities getting the supplement very well deservedly so, and then ignoring CULT and LGBTI. We're dealing with such a complex care, cultural and language differences at times, and that 10% is going to be very detrimental to the communities that we serve. So please be an advocate. Lack of recognition for a bilingual staff. I just had a big argument with a project where they wanted to use my bilingual staff and their skills to access my clients, and I said no. You need to pay them. So make sure that our staff is recognized for those skills. And again, when people say we need more government funding, is that what it's for? Language is a skill, an asset, and needs to be more recognized in our industry. Unfortunately, our current changes are absolutely lacking of that. So that's just my last word. And please reach out. I would love to do, we need to do more advocacy, all I'm saying, because you're going to be in even bigger trouble as of 1st of July. Key takeaways. Continuous learning, expand, rethink. Is it the language that you need, or is it the culture? How can you build up some flexibility in there? Because we're going to crack ourselves if we're trying to do the same thing. Again, it's not necessarily you. The systems have been changed for so long, and now it's impacting our own multiculturalism. And make sure that you talk to the communities. They're going to be your biggest asset as well.
Why do you think it's so important to have a culturally inclusive buddy system for staff?
We do have that, and I think it's really important to pass on not necessarily just the culture of the person or understanding how the client wants to do certain things, but also to pass on how Umbrella does work. We do sit down and have a coffee with the client, and some support workers who have been with other organizations, but it's a very exchanging. How can I say, very about just exchange. I come in, I do, get out. And when Umbrella, and again, that was never acknowledged that we do around 1.5 times more work with our multicultural communities, because often than not, they have nobody else to talk to in that language. And so it's just so important for the buddy system for two reasons. One is to make sure that we maintain what the client expects from us, and the person to come in and learn the way that sometimes we do a little bit differently, and we do give a little bit more time for our clients, just because sometimes they need that because of cultural, religious, or language reasons.
So an organization, I guess, that works with multicultural seniors. So what they need to be aware of, because you're aware of that you need to go that extra mile in terms of, because it takes more time. Is that sort of people need to be aware of that? I know that there's a lot of brokerage happening as well, and often larger organizations do brokerage to small organizations. How do you view that?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of brokerage, especially for our social support, because again, we do that a little bit differently. So we have over 50,000 hours of social support and respite care in our center. And we deliver 400 to 500 clients coming to our center. And it's really, it's cultural, language, and interest-based. And I think it's really important. And it's, again, changing the way that we're operating right now. We still have a bus fleet. We still have these big social groups. And my understanding is everybody else doing it differently. Now, I completely understand why, because the reality is that the funding is absolutely squeezing everything, the living thing out of us, right? But again, just make sure as you walk that line, you don't lose. And I can see a lot of multicultural providers and service providers are there. Just make sure that we don't lose the core of who we are and what we are, just because a monolingual and monocultural system want to squeeze us into a box. And that's the constant tug and pull. And again, a lot of these multicultural service providers, I would like to applaud to you. All of us constantly an advocate for our clients and for our staff. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's our client and staffs who are having this advantage.
How do you work together with generalist or mainstream providers in terms of complementing each other and supporting each other?
Give you a few examples. So, for example, some of our projects, so we done Dementia Australia, Carers WA, we're looking at palliative care and Cancer Council WA, and all of these organizations are extremely skilled at doing advocacy and support for those different causes that they are funded for, right? Then we come in and say, look, we have the connections to the communities and we're curious. We would love to know. So we set up programs like the Dementia Workshop, where we actually went into certain communities, and Dementia Australia done 45 minutes of their training, and then we took over and we had 45 minutes with the communities and asked very simple question of, hey, how do you talk about this? What is the language that you use around that? And it was so interesting what came out. So a lot of the multicultural communities have very strong cultural attachment to the elders. So, for example, the Hindi-speaking communities and the Arabic-speaking communities, they are like the avengers of protecting the elders and loving the elders. Like, they are so well known. But then in their language, when it came to dementia, they use derogatory term to describe the disease. It's madness, it's crazy, it's lunacy. And when we actually translated back at them, they were like, what? So we're using language and culture, and we're not looking language and culture as a barrier. We're looking at it as an exchange. It's a bridge. So we're using language to connect each other and have meaningful conversation of, hey, is that means the same to you? And it will help us to meet in halfway and start meaningful conversation. When we had a discussion with those communities that I just mentioned, they empowered themselves on the spot and said, that's it. We're not going to talk about them like this. I had to do absolutely nothing to step back and say, is there any resource you need? Dementia Australia, thank you very much. And they actually went back. They wanted more workshops, Nikki, and I have never experienced that in my life. So those are the good outcomes that you can get and you can have when you're actually exchanging your knowledge. So everybody knows what they're good at. The bigger mainstream providers are good at to provide bigger care and more in-depth care at times, but we can come in with our culture, we can come in with our language, we can come in with our connections to those communities, but just to make sure that you balance those needs and not overwhelm the community.
You talked in your presentation, Henrietta, about the importance of collaboration and collaborative events, whether, cultural, Diwali, and that sort of thing. Why is that so important? Because at the end of the day, it's not always funded to set up these events. And to organize that, why you're still doing that, and how you run that, to ensure that, is it volunteers who run these events?
Staff. So staff runs it. So especially in the weekends, we do toil or payout depending on what we have and which project. So it really depends on. But Umbrella was built by the communities for the communities. Giving back is absolutely in our natures. And I know every single one of them who are in this role, they know that this is our nature. And again, just being there for the communities, making those connections. And we do it because we want to be there for the communities when they need us. We're not necessarily getting much out of it, as in regards to service or new clients. But at the same time, sometimes somebody just need that one conversation. And I'm very grateful that Umbrella is in that position where we're able to attend Diwali. We're going to have a Go Day. We're going to go to LGBTX. So we have a Pride Month in WA. So we're going to do a lot of Pride events and just really being there for the community, because the reality is, end of the day, that's what they need. And often than not, they don't have from government or from other bigger providers. It's just to be there. And it just works for us, and highly recommend to start small. We didn't start it with full-blown events, but just pick a few and go there and just be there. Don't have to sell anything. Don't have to, just be there and listen. And the things that we learn from these communities on these events is completely mind-blowing to me every single time. And that informs our care and then our service delivery. So I can go back and say, hey guys, let's not do that. That's not a good idea. And especially now that we enabled with translation with the phone. So ChatGPT was incredible. We can actually have conversation now in language. And I'm so excited to explore what people's experiences are in their language.
There was one question around how do I find the cultural groups in my local area? Do you have any recommendation on that?
We start with Google. So when I was on maternity leave, I got bored and I literally just Googled and put everything in a map in WA in Perth. Please don't ask for it. It's already outdated. I gave birth in 2020. So as you can imagine, it's not relevant anymore. But it can be something that maybe you can get a student in, just explore. So you start with that. Now, these groups do have their own Facebook group and then start making the connections. Also, your biggest asset is your actual members and your staff. So most of our community engagement started with my Italian colleague who then went to Laguna Club, who then actually rolled into the Italian clients. Look at your volunteers, look at your staff, you start with them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Start that is comfortable. Again, community engagement and community outreach is a muscle. You need to exercise it first before you're able to go out and meet with the bigger communities. But look at your current staff. You can be the one who can help you to connect. I have connections to the Filipino, to the Japanese, to the Singaporean, to the Italian, to the Polish, to the Serbian. There's so many different communities that I have in-house. So when I need something, I literally go first to my staff.
Thank you very much, Henrietta. I would like to thank everybody for their participation and for being interested in learning more about culture appropriate home care. We have identified there's definitely a need for targeted approaches to home care to seniors from multicultural backgrounds. Please email us at info@culturediversity.com.au or reach out if you would like to have further training. And with that in mind, I would like to thank everybody again, and I hope we see you at the next webinar.